1 Kings chapter 12. Rehoboam went to Shechem because all Israel had gathered there to make him king. When Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard of this in Egypt, where he had fled from King Solomon and where he still remained, he returned from Egypt. They called for him, and he came with all the assembly of Israel. The people of Israel went to Rehoboam with this demand: "Your father made our yoke heavy, so now lighten the heavy yoke and the hard labor your father imposed on us, and we will serve you." Rehoboam answered them, "Leave now, but come back on the third day." And so the people went their way. King Rehoboam sought advice from the elderly counselors who served his father Solomon while he was still alive, and he asked them, "How would you advise me to answer these people?" To this they replied, "If you attend to these people today, making yourself their servant, and speak to them with good words, they will serve you forever." But Rehoboam disregarded the advice of the old counselors and asked the opinion of the greenhorns who had grown up with him and were in his service. He asked them, "What do you say we should answer these people who tell me, 'Lighten the yoke which your father imposed on us'?" The greenhorns who had grown up with him answered, "Since these people said to you, 'Your father made our yoke heavy, but you should now lighten it for us,' tell them this: 'My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid a heavy yoke on you, but I will make it heavier yet. My father chastised you with whips, but I will fix iron points to the lashes.'" On the third day, Jeroboam, together with the people, went back to Rehoboam, just as the king said, for he had said to them, "Come back on the third day." Ignoring the advice given him by the elderly counselors, the king answered the people harshly in the way the greenhorns had advised him. He said, "My father made your yoke heavy, but I will make it even heavier. My father chastised you with whips, but I will fix iron points to the lashes." The king did not listen to the people. It was indeed Yahweh who brought about this fateful event, fulfilling the word he had spoken to Jeroboam, son of Nebat, through Ahijah the Shilonite. All Israel realized that the king refused to listen to them, and they answered the same way. "What have we to do with David? He is the son of Jesse from our tribes. Let the son of David deal with his own, and you, people of Israel, go back to your homes." And so the Israelites left for their homes. Only the Israelites who dwelt in the cities of Judah let Rehoboam reign over them. Rehoboam sent Adoram, taskmaster of the forced labor, but the Israelites stoned him to death, and King Rehoboam had to mount his chariot and flee to Jerusalem. So Israel has been in rebellion against the house of David to the present time. As Jeroboam had returned and was with them at the assembly, having been called by them, they made him king of Israel. And so, with the exception of the tribe of Judah, no one followed the house of David. When Rehoboam came to Jerusalem, he called together all the people of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, numbering 180,000 select warriors, to fight against the people of Israel in a bid to restore the kingship of Rehoboam, son of Solomon. But the word of God was directed to Shemaiah, the man of God. Give Rehoboam, son of Solomon, king of Judah, and all the people of Judah and Benjamin, and the rest of his people, this message from Yahweh. You shall not go up to fight against your kinsmen, the Israelites. Let everyone return to his home, for I am the author of this. When they heard this word, they went back home, according to what Yahweh had ordered. Jeroboam fortified Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and lived there. Then he set out to fortify Penuel. Jeroboam thought the kingdom could come to the house of David. Should these people go up to offer sacrifices in Yahweh's house in Jerusalem, their heart would turn again to their master Rehoboam, king of Judah. They would kill me and go back to him. And so the king sought advice and made 2 golden calves. Then he said to the people, You have been going up to Jerusalem long enough. Here are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. He put one of these in Bethel, the other in Dan. And so Jeroboam made the people sin. The people went as far as Dan to accompany one of them. Jeroboam also built temples on high places, appointing priests who were not from the Levites. Jeroboam also appointed a feast on the 15th day of the 8th month in imitation of the feast in Judah, and he himself offered sacrifices on the altar. This he did in Bethel, and sacrificed to the calves that he had made. There he placed priests for the high places he had made. On the 15th day of the 8th month, the month which he had arbitrarily chosen, he ordained a feast for the Israelites, and went up to the altar to burn incense. 1 Kings chapter 13. A man of God came out of Judah, following a command of Yahweh, and he arrived at Bethel while Jeroboam was standing by the altar to burn incense. The man shouted, cursing the altar, O altar, altar, thus says Yahweh, there shall be born to the family of David a son by the name of Josiah. He shall sacrifice on you the priests of the high places who burn incense on you, and human bones shall be burned on you. And at once the man gave a sign. He said, This is the proof that Yahweh has spoken. The altar shall be torn down, and the ashes on it shall be scattered. When the king heard the man of God shouting and cursing the altar of Bethel, he stretched out his hand from the altar and said, Arrest him. Immediately the hand which he pointed out against the man dried up, and he could not draw it back. The altar itself crumbled, and the ashes on it were scattered, according to the sign that had been given. And so the king said to the man of God, Entreat the favor of Yahweh your God, and pray for me, so that my hand may be restored. The man of God entreated Yahweh, and the king's hand was restored, as it had been before. The king then said to the man of God, Come home with me, and refresh yourself. I will give you a reward. But the man of God answered the king, Even if you give me half your house, I will not go in with you, nor will I eat or drink in this place. For this was commanded me by Yahweh. He precisely said to me, You shall neither eat bread, nor drink water, nor return by the way you came. And the man did not return by the way he had come to Bethel, but he went another way. Now there was an old prophet living in Bethel, and his sons came to tell him what the man of God had done on that day in Bethel, and everything he had said to the king. Their father then asked them, which way did he go? And they told him which way the man of God from Judah had taken. He then said to his sons, saddle the ass for me. And they did so. He mounted the ass and went after the man of God, whom he found sitting under the oak. He asked him, are you the man of God who came from Judah? Come home with me and eat bread. The prophet from Judah answered, I may neither return nor go in with you, nor will I eat or drink with you. For this was the command of Yahweh, you shall neither eat bread nor drink water there, nor shall you return by the way you came. But the old prophet from Bethel said to him, I am also a prophet as you are. And an angel told me on behalf of Yahweh, bring him back with you into your house, that he may eat bread, drink water. The old prophet, in fact, was lying. And so the man of God went back with him and ate and drank in his house. As they sat at table, the word of Yahweh came to the prophet who had brought him back. And he said in a loud voice to the man of God who came from Judah, thus says Yahweh, you have disobeyed me and have not observed the command I gave you. Instead, you have come back and eaten and drunk, although I told you not to eat bread or drink water. Because of this, your body shall not be laid in the tomb of your ancestors. After he had eaten and drunk, the old prophet who had brought him back saddled the ass for him, and the prophet from Judah went away. But a lion met him on the road and killed him. His body was thrown on the road with the lion beside it. People who passed by saw the body thrown on the road with the lion standing by, and they reported this in the city where the old prophet lived. When the prophet heard of this, he said, it is the man of God who disobeyed the word of Yahweh. Yahweh has delivered him to the lion, which has torn and slain him, just as Yahweh had told him. Then he said to his sons, saddle the ass for me. They saddled it, and he went and found the body thrown on the road, with the ass and the lion standing beside it. The lion had neither eaten the body nor torn the ass. And so the prophet took up the body of the man of God, laid it on the ass, and brought it back to the city to mourn and to bury him. He laid the body in his own grave, and they mourned over him with a lament, Alas, my brother! After that, the old prophet said to his sons, when I die, bury me in the grave where the man of God is buried, and lay my bones beside his bones. For everything he said at Yahweh's command, cursing the altar in Bethel, and all the sanctuaries of the high places in the cities of Samaria, will be fulfilled. After this, however, Jeroboam did not abstain from doing evil. Instead, he made priests for the high places from among the people. He consecrated anyone who wanted to be a priest for the high places. And this became the sin of the family of Jeroboam, for which it was to be cut off and destroyed from the face of the earth. 1 Kings chapter 14. At that time, Abijah, son of Jeroboam, fell ill. So the king told his wife, Go, disguise yourself so that no one may recognize you as Jeroboam's wife. Go to Shiloh, where you will find Ahijah the prophet, who foretold that I would be king over this people. Take with you 10 loaves, a few cakes, and a jar of honey. Enter his house, and he will tell you what shall happen to the child." Jeroboam's wife did as she was told, and left for Shiloh. She entered the house of Ahijah, who was now so old that he could not see. But Yahweh had told Ahijah, "Jeroboam's wife is coming to consult you about her sick son, and this is what you must tell her. She will be coming in disguise." And so, when Ahijah heard the sound of her footsteps as she entered the door, he said, "Come in, wife of Jeroboam. Why have you disguised yourself? I have been told to give you unpleasant news. Go, therefore, bring Jeroboam this message of Yahweh, the God of Israel. I made you rise from the midst of the people and established you as the leader of Israel. I took the kingdom from David's family to give it to you. Yet you have not been like my servant David, who kept my commands and followed me with his whole heart, doing only what was pleasing to me. You have done worse than anyone before you. You have made me angry with your strange gods and the images you have made, and you have forsaken me. Now I shall bring disaster on the family of Jeroboam. I will cut off every male in Jeroboam's line, whether slave or free man in Israel, and I will wipe out the descendants of Jeroboam, just as they wipe out the dung till all is gone. He who dies in the city will be devoured by dogs, he who dies in the field by the birds of the sky. So Yahweh has spoken. Leave now and go back home. As soon as you enter the city, the child will die. All Israel will mourn for him and bury him. He alone of Jeroboam's line will be buried, for in him alone has Yahweh, the God of Israel, found something good. Yahweh himself will raise up for himself a king of Israel. It is he who will destroy Jeroboam's family. Yahweh will strike Israel like a reed tossed about in the water, and root them out from this good land which he gave to their ancestors. He will scatter them beyond the river Euphrates, because they made him angry with the sacred poles they set up. Yahweh will scatter Israel because of the sins Jeroboam has committed, and by which he dragged Israel into sin. So Jeroboam's wife went home. On her arrival at Tirzah, and as soon as she crossed the threshold of her house, the child died. The child was buried, and all Israel mourned over him, just as Yahweh had prophesied through his servant the prophet Ahijah. The rest of the acts of Jeroboam, his achievements in war, and his reign are recorded in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel. Jeroboam reigned for 22 years. When he rested with his fathers, his son Nadab succeeded him as king. As for Rehoboam, son of Solomon, he was 41 when he began to reign over Judah. He reigned for 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which Yahweh chose out of all the tribes of Israel to put his name there. His mother Naamah was an Ammonite. The people of Judah did what displeased Yahweh, and by their sins angered him even more than their ancestors had done. They also built for themselves high places, pillars, and sacred poles on every high hill and under every green tree. They even had male cult prostitutes in their land. Judah followed all the abominable practices of the nations whom Yahweh had driven out before the Israelites. In the 5th year of King Rehoboam, Shishak, king of Egypt, attacked Jerusalem and looted everything, including the treasures of Yahweh's house and of the royal palace. As he had taken the golden shields made under Solomon, Rehoboam replaced them with the brazen shields and entrusted them to the officers of the guard who watched at the door of the king's palace. Every time the king went into Yahweh's house, the guards took them out and then brought them back to the guard room. The rest of the events of Rehoboam's reign, including his deeds, are all written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah. There was incessant war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam. Then Rehoboam rested with his fathers and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. His mother Naamah was an Ammonite. His son Abijam succeeded him as king. 1 Kings chapter 15. In the 18th year of King Jeroboam, son of Nebat, Abijam became king of Judah and reigned for 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Maacah, daughter of Absalom. He imitated all the sins his father had committed before him, and unlike his ancestor David, was not wholly faithful to Yahweh his God. Yet Yahweh had promised David that he would keep his lamp burning in Jerusalem. He would raise his descendants after him and establish Jerusalem. This was because David had pleased Yahweh and did not disobey any of his commands as long as he lived, except in the case of Uriah the Hittite. The rest of the events of Abijam's reign and everything he did are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah. There was war between Abijam and Jeroboam. When Abijam rested with his fathers, he was buried in the city of David, and his son Asa reigned in his place. In the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Asa, king of Judah, began to reign and was king for 41 years, ruling Jerusalem. His grandmother was Maacah, daughter of Absalom. Asa did what was right before Yahweh, just as his ancestor David had done. He rid the land of male cult prostitutes and removed all the idols his ancestors had made. He also deposed his grandmother Maacah as queen mother for having made an abominable image for Asherah. Asa destroyed Asherah's image and burned it at the brook Kidron. He did not, however, close down the high places. Nevertheless, Asa remained faithful to Yahweh for the rest of his life. He brought into Yahweh's house both the votive gifts of his father and his own, silver, gold, and vessels. Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, were at war during their reigns. Baasha, king of Israel, attacked Judah and fortified Ramah to cut off all communication with Asa, king of Judah. Asa, in the meantime, collecting all the silver and gold remaining in the treasuries of the temple of Yahweh and the royal palace, entrusted them to his servants, whom he sent to Ben-Hadad, son of Tabrimon, son of Hezion, king of Syria, who reigned in Damascus. He sent him this message: "Let us together make a treaty, just as my father and yours did. I am sending you silver and gold. So please break your treaty with Baasha, king of Israel, that he may withdraw from my territory." Ben-Hadad acceded to King Asa's request and sent his officers to harass the cities of Israel, capturing Ijon, Dan, Abel-Beth-Maachah, all the land of Kinneroth, and the region of Naphtali. On hearing this, Baasha stopped the fortification of Ramah and moved to Tirzah, where he lived. Then King Asa issued an order to all of Judah, excluding no one, to take away the stones and timber which Baasha had been using to fortify Ramah. With these materials, King Asa built Geba of Benjamin and Mizpah. The rest of Asa's reign, his bravery, his deeds, and the cities which he built are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah. In his old age, Asa suffered from a foot disease. Asa then rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his ancestor. His son Jehoshaphat reigned in his place. Nadab, son of Jeroboam, began to reign over Israel in the second year of Asa, king of Judah. He reigned over Israel for 2 years, doing what displeased Yahweh and dragging Israel into sin, as his father had done. Baasha, son of Ahijah of the family of Issachar, plotted against him and struck him down at Gibbethon of the Philistines when Nadab and the Israelites were laying siege to this city. Baasha killed Nadab in the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, and reigned in his place. As soon as he was king, he killed off the entire family of Jeroboam, leaving him no one alive, but wiping them out according to the word which Yahweh had spoken through his servant Ahijah the Shilonite. This happened because of Jeroboam, who aroused the anger of Yahweh, the God of Israel, by sinning and dragging Israel to sin. The rest of the events of Nadab's reign and his achievements are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Asa and Baasha were at war during their reigns. In the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, Baasha, son of Ahijah, began to reign over all Israel at Tirzah, where he reigned for 24 years. He did what displeased Yahweh and sinned just as Jeroboam, who dragged Israel into sin, had done. 1 Kings chapter 16. Yahweh spoke to Jehu, son of Hanani, to condemn Baasha. He said, "I have raised you from the dust to make you rule over my people Israel, but you have made me angry by going the way of Jeroboam and dragging my people Israel into sin. I will therefore sweep away Baasha and his family and deal with them as I did with Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Dogs will devour those of Baasha's line who die in the city. The birds of the air will feed on those who die in the country." The rest of the events of Baasha's reign, his deeds and achievements, are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Baasha rested with his fathers and was buried at Tirzah, while Elah, his son, reigned in his place. Yahweh indeed spoke through the prophet Jehu, son of Hanani, to condemn Baasha and his family, not only for doing what displeased Yahweh, making him angry as Jeroboam had done, but also because he murdered the family of Jeroboam. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, son of Baasha, began to reign over Israel in Tirzah and was king for 2 years. But his servant Simri, commander of all his chariots, plotted against him. While Elah was getting himself drunk in the house of Arsa, governor of Tirzah, Simri came in, struck him down and killed him. This happened in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah. Then Simri reigned in his place. As soon as Simri began to reign, he had the entire family of Baasha killed, leaving him not a single male relative or friend. Simri wiped out the entire house of Baasha according to Yahweh's pronouncement against him, as spoken by Jehu the prophet. And this happened because of the sins which Baasha and his son had committed, dragging Israel into sin and making Yahweh angry with their idols. Now the rest of the events of Elah's reign and all his deeds are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. It happened in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, that Simri reigned 7 days in Tirzah. For the army was besieging Gibbethon of the Philistines when Simri plotted against Elah, and on hearing that he had killed the king, they proclaimed Omri, commander of the army, king of Israel. Omri went up with the Israelites from Gibbethon and attacked Tirzah. When Simri saw that the city was to be captured, he went into the citadel of the royal palace. He set the royal palace on fire, and he died. He died thus because of the sins he had committed, doing what displeased Yahweh and going the way of Jeroboam by dragging Israel into sin. The rest of the acts of Simri and his plot are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. The Israelites were then divided. Half of them followed Tibni, son of Ginath, to make him king. The other half followed Omri. Those who followed Omri overcame those who followed Tibni, son of Ginath. And so Tibni died and Omri became king. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah, Omri began to reign over Israel. He reigned for 12 years, 6 years of which he reigned in Tirzah. Then he bought the hill of Samaria from Shemer for 2 talents of silver. He built a city on the hill and called it Samaria after Shemer, the owner of the hill. Omri did what displeased Yahweh, even more than all those who preceded him. He went the way of Jeroboam son of Nebat and dragged Israel into sin, thereby provoking the anger of Yahweh, the God of Israel, by their idols. The rest of the acts of Omri and his bravery are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. Then Omri rested with his fathers and was buried in Samaria, while Ahab, his son, reigned in his place. Ahab, son of Omri, became king in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, and he reigned over Israel in Samaria for 22 years. Ahab, son of Omri, did what displeased Yahweh, even more than all those who preceded him. Apparently, the example and the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, were not enough for him. He even married Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians. So he served Baal and worshipped him. He set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal which he built in Samaria, and proceeded to make an Asherah. So Ahab did everything that could make Yahweh angry, even more than any of the kings of Israel who ruled before him. During his reign, Hiel of Bethel rebuilt Jericho. On laying its foundation, he sacrificed Abiram, his firstborn. And when he set up the gates of the city, he sacrificed his youngest son, Segub, in accordance with the word of Yahweh spoken through Joshua, son of Nun. First Kings chapter 17. Now Elijah, the prophet from Tishbe in Gilead, said to Ahab, As Yahweh, the God of Israel, whom I serve, lives, neither dew shall drop, nor rain fall, except at my command. Then the word of Yahweh came to Elijah, Leave this place and go eastward. Hide yourself by the brook Kerith, east of the Jordan. You shall drink from the brook, and for your food I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. So Elijah obeyed the word of Yahweh and went to live by the brook Kerith, east of the Jordan. There the ravens brought him bread in the morning and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook. After a while, the brook dried up because no rain had fallen in the land. Then Yahweh spoke to Elijah, Go to Zarephath of the Sidonites and stay there. I have given word to a widow there to give you food. So Elijah went to Zarephath. On reaching the gate of the town, he saw a widow gathering sticks. He called to her and said, Bring me a little water in a vessel that I may drink. As she was going to bring it, he called after her and said, Bring me also a piece of bread. But she answered, As Yahweh your God lives, I have no bread left, but only a handful of flour in a jar and a little oil in a jug. I am just now gathering some sticks, so that I may go in and prepare something for myself and my son to eat and die. Elijah then said to her, Do not be afraid. Go and do as you have said, but first make me a little cake of it and bring it to me. Then make some for yourself and your son. For this is the word of Yahweh, the God of Israel. The jar of meal shall not be emptied, nor shall the jug of oil fail, until the day when Yahweh sends rain to the earth. So she went and did as Elijah told her, and she had food for herself, Elijah and her son from that day on. The jar of flour was not emptied, nor did the jug of oil fail, in accordance with what Yahweh had said through Elijah. After this, the son of this housewife became ill, and such was his illness that he stopped breathing. She then said to Elijah, What did you do, O man of God? Have you come to uncover past sins and cause my son's death? He answered, Give me your son. Taking him from her lap, he carried him up to the upper room where he was staying and laid him on his own bed. Then he called on Yahweh, O Yahweh, my God, will you afflict even the widow with whom I am residing by letting her son die? Then he stretched himself on the child 3 times and called on Yahweh, O Yahweh, my God, let this child's breath return to him. Yahweh listened to the pleading of Elijah, and the child's breath returned to him, and he lived. Elijah then took the child and brought him down from the upper room. He gave him to his mother and said, See, your son is alive. Then the woman said to Elijah, Now I am certain that you are a man of God, and that your words really came from Yahweh. 1 Kings chapter 18. After several days, in the 3rd year, Yahweh spoke to Elijah and said, Go, show yourself to Ahab, that I may let it rain on the earth. So Elijah went to show himself to Ahab. Now the famine in Samaria was severe. Ahab therefore called Obadiah, who was in charge of the household. Obadiah was a faithful servant of Yahweh, and when Jezebel slew the prophets of Yahweh, he himself took 100 prophets and hid them by 50s in caves, feeding them with bread and water. Then Ahab told Obadiah, Let's go and check all the water springs and the valleys through the land, looking for grass, so that the horses and mules may be kept alive and not perish. So Ahab and Obadiah divided the land between them, and each of them went his own way. As Obadiah was going his way, Elijah met him. Recognizing Elijah, Obadiah fell on his face and said, Is that you, my master Elijah? He answered him, It is I. Go tell your master that I am here. But Obadiah replied, What evil have I done, that you expose me to Ahab's anger? Surely you want me to die? By Yahweh your God, there is no people or nation where my master has not searched for you. And if they said, Elijah is not here, he would make them take an oath that they had not found you. Yet now, as soon as I leave to inform Ahab of your presence, the Spirit of Yahweh will transport your goodness elsewhere, and when Ahab fails to find you, he will kill me. But I have served Yahweh from my youth. Do you not know that when Jezebel had the prophets of Yahweh killed, I hid 100 of them in 2 caves and fed them with bread and water? Now, if I notify Ahab of your presence, as you want me to do, he will surely kill me. But Elijah said to him, By Yahweh of hosts, whom I serve, I will show myself to him today. So Obadiah went to give Ahab this message, and Ahab came to meet Elijah. On seeing Elijah, Ahab said to him, Is it you, the plague of Israel? Elijah replied, Who is troubling Israel? Isn't you and your family who have disobeyed the commands of Yahweh and followed instead the Baals? Now therefore give an order for the Israelites to gather before me at Mount Carmel, together with the 450 prophets of Baal who are sustained by Jezebel. So Ahab sent for all the prophets of Israel and gathered the prophets at Mount Carmel. Then Elijah addressed the people and asked, How long will you follow 2 ways at the same time? If Yahweh is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, then follow him. The people remained silent. So Elijah continued, I am the only prophet of Yahweh left here to face Baal's 450 prophets. Get us 2 bulls. Let them choose 1 bull for themselves, cut it into pieces, and lay it on the wood, and I will do the same with the other bull. But we will not set it on fire. Then you shall call on the name of your gods, while I shall call on the name of Yahweh. The God who answers with fire is the true one. Then the people answered, That is right. Then Elijah told the prophets of Baal, Choose for yourselves 1 bull and prepare it first, for you are many. Then call on the name of your God, lest you are left without fire. So they took the bull and prepared it, and they called on the name of Baal. Baal, answer us. But there was no voice, and no one answered them, while they went on dancing on one foot around the altar they had built. By noontime, Elijah began to mock them. Shout out louder, Baal is a busy god, or he may have gone out, or perhaps he has gone on a trip, or he is sleeping and must be wakened. So they shouted louder, gashing their skin with knives as they are used to doing, until they bled. It was already past noon, and they were still raving on until the time of the evening offering. But still there was no voice, no one answered or gave a sign of life. Then Elijah said to the people, "Draw closer to me." And the people drew closer to him. He then repaired the altar of Yahweh which had been thrown down. He took 12 stones corresponding to the number of tribes of the sons of Jacob, whom Yahweh had addressed, saying, "Israel shall be your name." With these stones he built an altar to the name of Yahweh and dug a trench around it that would contain about 30 liters. He then arranged the firewood, cut the bull in pieces, and laid them on the wood. Then he said, "Fill your jars with water and pour it on the burnt offering and on the firewood." He said, "Do it again." And they did it again. One more time, and they did it a third time. The water ran around the altar and filled the trench. When the time of the evening offering came, Elijah the prophet came near and said, "O Yahweh, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, doing all these things at your command. Answer me, O Yahweh, answer me, so that this people may know that you, O Yahweh, are God, and that you are turning back their hearts to you." Then the fire of Yahweh fell and consumed the burnt offering, together with the wood, the stones also, and the dust. The water also dried up in the trench. All the people witnessed this. Then they fell on their faces and said, "Yahweh is God, Yahweh is God." Then Elijah commanded them, "Seize the prophets of Baal, and let none of them escape." And so they seized them. Then Elijah brought them down to the brook Kidron and had them slaughtered there. Elijah then said to Ahab, "Go up, eat and drink, for the sound of rain is rushing in." So Ahab went up to eat and drink. Elijah, in the meantime, went to the top of Carmel, bowed to the ground, and put his face between his knees. Then he said to his servant, "Go up and look in the direction of the sea." The man went up, looked, and said, "There is nothing." Then Elijah said, "Go again." And 7 times he went. At the 7th time he perceived a little cloud, the size of a man's hand, rising out of the sea. Elijah told him, "Go, tell Ahab, prepare your chariot, and go down before the rain stops you." A little later the sky grew dark with clouds and wind, and a strong rain fell. Ahab was riding on his way to Jezreel. As for Elijah, the hand of Yahweh was on him, and tucking his cloak in his belt, he ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. 1 Kings chapter 19. Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, and how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Jezebel then sent word to Elijah, "May I be cursed, if by this time tomorrow I have not dealt with you as you dealt with them. Elijah was scared and fled for his life. He reached Beersheba of Judah and left his servant there. He himself disappeared into the desert, going on a day's journey. Then he sat down under a broom tree and prayed to die. That is enough, Yahweh. Take away my life, for I am dying. He lay down and went to sleep under the broom tree. Then an angel touched him and said, Get up and eat. Elijah looked and saw at his head a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. He ate and drank and went back to sleep. The angel of Yahweh came a second time to him, saying, Get up and eat, for the journey is too long for you. He got up, ate and drank, and on the strength of that food, he traveled for 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. On reaching the place, he came to the cave and stayed in it. Then the word of Yahweh came to him. What are you doing here, Elijah? He answered, I am burning with jealous love for Yahweh, the God of hosts, because the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and slain your prophets with the sword. No one is left but myself, and they are still trying to kill me as well. Then Yahweh said, Go up and stand on the mount, waiting for Yahweh. And Yahweh passed by. There was first a windstorm, wild wind, which rent the mountains and broke the rocks into pieces before Yahweh. But Yahweh was not in the wind. After the storm, an earthquake, but Yahweh was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire, but Yahweh was not in the fire. After the fire, the murmur of a gentle breeze. When Elijah perceived it, he covered his face with his cloak, went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then he heard a voice addressing him again. What are you doing here, Elijah? He answered, I am burning with jealous love for Yahweh, the God of hosts, because the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and slain your prophets with the sword. No one is left but myself, yet they still seek my life to take it away. Yahweh said to him, Take the road back through the desert and go to Damascus, for you must anoint Hazael as king of Syria. You shall also anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, as king over Israel, and Elisha, son of Shaphat, from Abel Meholah, you shall anoint as prophet in your place. Whoever escapes from the sword of Hazael will be slain by Jehu, and whoever escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha will let him die. Yet I will spare 7,000 in Israel, who have not knelt before Baal, and whose lips have not kissed him. So Elijah left. He found Elisha, son of Shaphat, who was plowing a field of 12 acres, and was at the end of the 12th acre. Elijah passed by him, and cast his cloak over him. Elisha left the oxen, ran after Elijah and said, Let me say goodbye to my father and mother, then I will follow you. Elijah said to him, Return if you want. Don't worry about what I did. However, Elisha turned back, took the yoke of oxen, and slew them. He roasted their meat on the pieces of the yoke, and gave it to his people who ate it. After this, he followed Elijah and began ministering to him. 1 Kings chapter 20. Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, gathered together his entire army. With him were 32 kings. With horses and chariots, he went to Samaria and besieged it. He then sent messengers into the city to Ahab, king of Israel, and said to him, Thus says Ben-Hadad, Your silver and gold are mine, and so are your fairest wives and children. The king of Israel answered, As you say, my master, O king, I am yours with all that I possess. Again Ben-Hadad sent messengers to say, I sent this message to you. Hand over to me your silver and gold, along with your wives and children. But now I will send my servants to you tomorrow about this time. They shall search your house and those of your officials, and take with them whatever they want to take. Then the king of Israel summoned all the elders of the land and said, Look now and see how this man acts with evil intentions. He will send his officers to take my wives and children and my silver and gold, although I agreed to deliver all to him. The elders and the people said to him, Pay no attention to him and do not agree to what he asks. So the king of Israel told Ben-Hadad's messengers, Tell my master the king, I will do everything you first demanded of me, but now it is too much. The messengers left and reported this to Ben-Hadad, who then answered, May I be cursed if enough dust remains of Samaria to give a handful to all the people who follow me. But the king of Israel answered, Let not he who puts on his armor boast like one who takes it off. Ben-Hadad was drinking with the kings in the booths when he heard this message. So he said to his officers, Take your positions. And they took their positions against the city. Then a prophet approached Ahab, king of Israel, and said, Have you seen this immense crowd? This is the word of Yahweh. I will deliver it into your hands today, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. Ahab asked, Who is to win over him? The prophet replied, The gods of the governors of the districts, for this is Yahweh's order. Again the king asked, Who shall begin the battle? He replied, You. And so the king of Israel mustered the gods of the governors of the districts, numbering 2,032. After that, he mustered all the Israelites, numbering 7,000. They set out at noon, while Ben-Hadad was drinking himself drunk in the booths, together with the 32 kings who helped him. The gods of the governors of the districts went out first. Someone reported to Ben-Hadad, People are coming out from Samaria. He said, If they have come out for peace, take them alive. If for war, take them alive as well. So the gods of the governors of the city went out, and the army followed them, and each one began to kill his man. The Arameans fled with the Israelites pursuing them. Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, was able to escape on a horse with horsemen. But the king of Israel captured horses and chariots and utterly defeated the Arameans. Then the prophet came again to the king of Israel and said to him, Courage, be on your guard, and ponder well your next action, for next year the king of Aram will come up against you. The officers of the king of Aram said to him, "Their gods are gods of the hills. That is why they were stronger than us. Let us fight against them on the plain, and we shall overcome them. But you must also replace the princes with officers appointed by you. When you have gathered an army like the one you have lost, with the same amount of horses and chariots, we will fight on the plain. Then we shall see who is stronger." Ben-Hadad listened to their advice and did just that. In the spring, Ben-Hadad mustered the Arameans and set out for Aphek to fight against Israel. The Israelites were also mustered, and they set out against the Arameans. As they encamped, the Israelites looked like two little herds of goats, whereas the Arameans filled the countryside. A man of God approached the king of Israel and said to him, "Thus says Yahweh, because the Arameans have said, 'Yahweh is a God of the hills, but not of the valleys,' therefore I will deliver this immense crowd into your hands, and you shall know that I am Yahweh." And they encamped facing each other for 7 days. On the 7th day, the battle was engaged, and that day the Israelites killed 100,000 Aramean foot soldiers. As the rest fled into the city of Aphek, the wall fell on the 27,000 men that were left. Ben-Hadad himself fled and entered an inner room in the city. His officers said to him, "People say that the kings of Israel are merciful kings. Let us put sackcloth around our waist. Perhaps he will spare your life." So, putting sackcloth around their waists and ropes around their necks, they went to the king of Israel and said, "Your servant Ben-Hadad pleads, please let me live." He then asked, "Is he still alive? He is my brother." They quickly took up his word and said, "Yes, Ben-Hadad is your brother." The king of Israel then said, "Go, bring him here." Ben-Hadad came to him, and he let Ben-Hadad get into his chariot. Ben-Hadad then said to him, "I will give back the cities which my father took from your father, and you may put up business establishments for yourself in Damascus, just as my father did in Samaria." He then made an agreement with Ben-Hadad and let him go. Now the word of Yahweh was directed to one of the fellow prophets. So he said to his companion, "Strike me, please." But his companion refused to strike him. So he said to him, "Since you have not obeyed the voice of Yahweh, once you leave me, a lion shall kill you." And indeed, as soon as he had left, a lion found him and killed him. Then the fellow prophet found another man, to whom he said, "Please strike me." This man struck him, wounding him. Then this prophet left, disguising himself with a bandage over his eyes, and waited for the king along the road. When the king passed, he called to him and said, "O king, I, your servant, went into the thick of the battle when a soldier left the line and brought me a man, saying, 'Guard this man. Should he escape, your life shall be in exchange for his, or else you shall pay a talent of silver.' While I was busy running around, my prisoner disappeared." The king of Israel said to him, "You yourself have said what your sentence shall be." At once the man removed the bandage from his eyes, and the king of Israel recognized him as one of the prophets. Then the prophet told him, "Because you have released the man whom I have decreed to die, your life shall be in exchange for his, and your people for his people. And the king of Israel went back home to Samaria, resentful and sad. First Kings chapter 21. Now Naboth, a man from Jezreel, owned a vineyard just beside the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. Ahab asked Naboth, "Give me your vineyard, which is near my house, that I may use it for a vegetable garden. I will give you a better vineyard in exchange. Or, if you prefer, I will pay you its price." But Naboth said to Ahab, "Yahweh forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my fathers." So Ahab went home angry and sad because of what Naboth had told him, that he would not give him the inheritance of his fathers. So he lay down on his bed with his face turned toward the wall and refused to eat. His wife Jezebel came to him and said, "Why are you so angry that you refuse to eat?" He answered, "I spoke to Naboth the Jezreelite and asked him to sell me his vineyard or to exchange it for another better one. But he answered, I will not give you my vineyard." His wife Jezebel said to him, "Are you not king of Israel? Get up and eat and be joyful, for I will give you the vineyard of Naboth of Jezreel." So Jezebel wrote letters using Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters to the elders and important persons living near Naboth. This is what she wrote in the letters: "Declare a fast and put Naboth on trial. Get 2 worthless fellows to accuse him in this way. You have cursed God and the king. Then take him out and stone him to death." The people, the elders, and the important persons who lived in his city did as Jezebel had instructed them in the letters she sent to them. They declared a fast and put Naboth on trial. The 2 worthless fellows came in and sat facing him, accusing Naboth before the people. Naboth cursed God and the king. So the people took him outside the city and stoned him to death. They then sent word to Jezebel that Naboth had been stoned and was dead. As soon as Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned and was dead, she told Ahab, "Now take possession of the vineyard of Naboth, the man of Jezreel, who refused to sell it to you, for Naboth is now dead." As soon as Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, he went down to the vineyard of Naboth and took possession of it. Then Yahweh spoke to Elijah of Tishbe, "Go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, in Samaria. He is taking possession of the vineyard of Naboth. Say to him, have you killed and have taken possession at the same time? Then give him this word of mine: dogs shall lick your blood in the very place where the dogs licked the blood of Naboth." Ahab then said to Elijah, "Who better than my enemy could find me here and now?" Elijah answered, "I have come to you because you have done what Yahweh abhors. This is Yahweh's word: I will bring disgrace on you. I will sweep you away and cut off every male of your family, from the lowliest to the greatest. Your family will disappear like the families of Jeroboam and Baasha, because you have offended me and have dragged Israel into sin." There is another word of Yahweh to Jezebel: The dogs shall devour Jezebel within the territory of Jezreel. If any one of Ahab's line dies in the city, he shall be devoured by dogs. If in the green country, the birds of the air shall feed on him. There was no one like Ahab, urged by his wife Jezebel in doing what Yahweh abhorred. He did horrible things and ran after unclean idols, just as the Amorites had done, from whom Yahweh had taken the land to give it to Israel. On hearing these words, Ahab tore his clothes and put on sackcloth. He fasted as he lay in sackcloth and moved around despondently. Then Yahweh said to Elijah the Tishbite, "Have you seen how Ahab has humbled himself? Because of this, I will not bring about the disaster during his reign. During his son's reign, disgrace will fall on his family." 1 Kings chapter 22. There was no war between Aram and Israel for 3 years. But in the 3rd year, Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. The king of Israel then talked to his officers, "Have you forgotten that Ramoth Gilead belongs to us? Yet we do nothing to take it back from the Arameans." So he asked Jehoshaphat, "Will you come with me to conquer Ramoth Gilead?" Jehoshaphat answered the king of Israel, "I am with you. My people are with your people, and my heart is with yours." Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, said to the king of Israel, "Let us consult Yahweh before setting out for war." So the king of Israel gathered all the prophets, numbering about 400 men, and asked them, "Shall I go to conquer Ramoth Gilead, or shall I hold back?" They replied, "Go, for Yahweh will deliver the city into your hands." Jehoshaphat asked, "Is there no other prophet of Yahweh around here whom we might ask?" The king of Israel answered, "There is still one through whom we may ask for Yahweh's counsel, but I hate him, for he never prophesies good about me, but only evil. It is Micaiah, son of Imlah." Then Jehoshaphat said, "Don't speak in this manner." So the king of Israel called an official and told him, "Bring quickly Micaiah, son of Imlah." Meantime, the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, were seated on their thrones, fully robed. They were both at the threshing floor by the entrance gate of Samaria, where the prophets continued to prophesy before them. There was Zedekiah, son of Kenana, who made for himself horns from iron and said, "Thus says Yahweh, with these horns you shall strike the Arameans until they are destroyed." All the prophets said the same. "Go to Ramoth Gilead and triumph. Yahweh will deliver it into the hands of the king." The official who went to summon Micaiah said to him, "Look here, all the prophets agree to foretell a happy end to the king. You too agree to speak favorably." But Micaiah replied, "As Yahweh lives, I will speak what Yahweh tells me to." When he had come, the king asked him, "Micaiah, shall we go to conquer Ramoth Gilead, or shall we hold back?" Then Micaiah answered, "Go and triumph. Yahweh will give the city into the hands of the king." But the king said to him, "How many times should I ask you to speak seriously to me and tell me the truth in the name of Yahweh?" Then Micaiah said, "I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains like sheep without a shepherd." Then Yahweh said, These have no master, so let each return to his home in peace. So the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell you that he would not prophesy good about me, but only evil? Micaiah replied, Listen again to the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, with the entire host of heaven standing beside him on his right and on his left. Then Yahweh asked, Who will deceive the king of Israel, that he may go and fall at Ramoth Gilead? One said one thing and another thing. Then a spirit came forward and stood before Yahweh, saying, I will deceive him. Yahweh then asked him, What will you do? To this he replied, I will go and make myself a lying spirit on the lips of all his prophets. Then Yahweh said, You shall succeed. Go and do just that. You must know that Yahweh has put a lying spirit in the mouths of all these prophets of yours, because he willed to bring evil on you. Then Zedekiah, son of Kenana, approached Micaiah, struck him, and said, Has the Spirit of Yahweh left me to speak to you? Micaiah replied, You shall discover for yourself on the day you flee from house to hide. Then the king of Israel ordered, Seize Micaiah and take him back to Ammon, governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son. Give them this order, Throw this man in prison, and feed him with scant fare of bread and water until I come in peace. Then Micaiah said, If you return in peace, then Yahweh has not spoken through me. So the king of Israel went up to Ramoth Gilead together with the king of Judah. The king of Israel told Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself before the battle, but you wear your robes. So the king of Israel disguised himself before the battle. Now the king of Aram commanded the 32 captains of his chariots, Attack no one, big or small, but only the king of Israel. When the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, they thought, That surely is the king of Israel. So they turned to attack him. But when Jehoshaphat shouted his cry of war, the captains of the chariots saw that it was not the king of Israel, and they no longer pursued him. In the meantime, one of the Arameans drew his bow, without knowing at whom he aimed, and hit the king of Israel between the scale armor and the breastplate. The king then ordered the driver of his chariot, Turn around and carry me out of the battle, for I am wounded. The battle raged fiercely on that day. Meanwhile, the king was propped up in his chariot, facing the Arameans, until the evening when he died. The blood from his wound flowed down into the bottom of the chariot. At about sunset, a cry went through the camp, Everyone to his city and everyone to his country. The king has died. The king was brought to Samaria and was buried there. But they washed the chariot by the pool of Samaria. So the dogs licked up his blood, while the harlots bathed in it in accordance with the word spoken by Yahweh. The rest of the acts of Ahab, his deeds, the ivory house he built, and the cities he restored, are all written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel. So Ahab rested with his ancestors, and his son Ahaziah reigned in his place. Jehoshaphat, son of Asa, began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. He was 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 25 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Asubah, daughter of Shilhi. He conducted himself like his father Asa and did what pleased Yahweh without hesitation. Yet he did not remove the high places where the people continued to sacrifice and burn incense. Jehoshaphat had peace with the king of Israel. The rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, his bravery and his war exploits, are written in the books of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah. He also removed from the land the remaining male cult prostitutes, completing the work of his father Asa. There was no king in Edom, but a governor ruled over it. Jehoshaphat had Tarshish ships go to Ophir for gold, but the venture failed because the ships were wrecked at Ezion-Geber. Then Ahaziah, son of Ahab, said to Jehoshaphat, "Let my servants go in the ships with your servants." Jehoshaphat, however, refused. When Jehoshaphat rested with his fathers, he was buried with them in the city of his ancestor David, and his son Jehoram reigned in his place. Ahaziah, son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. He reigned over Israel for 2 years. He did what displeased Yahweh, imitating the conduct of both his father and mother, as well as of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who dragged Israel into sin. He served Baal and worshipped him, offending Yahweh, the God of Israel, in the same way his father had done.